I come in?
Come.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
Please take a seat, Prapthi.
Thank you.
And introduce yourself to the board.
So I am Prapthi Jain. I come from Jean, Haryana. I have done my schooling from there. Post that I did my graduation in English Honours from Hansraj College. After that I did my MBA from IIM Rohtak. I also have 1 year of work experience as a management trainee in Xiaomi Technology. In my leisure time, I'd like to explore advertisement and sew clothes on machine.
Okay. Now, this is going to be your first interview.
Yes, sir.
Second attempt and first interview. What business is your father in?
Sir, agriculture spare parts.
Agriculture spare parts.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you see, these spare parts can be sold on the websites also through Amazon and all that. Now, the government has come in with an alternate platform to help people like your father expand their business. What is that platform and how is it going to be used? How is it being used right now?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not aware of the platform.
Have you heard of the ONDC platform?
Yes, sir.
What is the ONDC platform?
So, Open Network for Digital Commerce.
So that is the platform which is going to help people like your father, expand their business. So, do you know how it's going to compete with Amazon, Flipkart, and all?
Yes, sir. So, in a way, ONDC will allow all the different players, different shopkeepers, retailers, traders to put their products on ONDC rather than Amazon and Flipkart because they charge huge commissions. So small players can't compete on Amazon and Flipkart, but they can do so on ONDC. So
recently there was an agreement between the ONDC and the Ministry of Electronics to further expand the reach of the ONDC platform. What was that about, and how will they reach to the remotest parts in the country, remotest areas?
Sir, I'll read about this. I'm not aware.
You're not aware about it. Okay. Now you are interested in advertisements. What kind of advertisement, and what is your interest in that?
Sir, I'd like to watch advertisements on TVs and YouTube and also print advertisements so as to understand what type of protagonist they have used and where do they place their products and how customers perceive them and how also competitors make new advertisements based on their target.
So these OTT platforms are going to be very, very happy with you because people normally pay them not to see advertisements.
Yes, sir.
You are the one who is going to watch as many ads as possible. So they are going to be very happy with you.
In a way, yes, sir.
So don't you think advertisements are overwhelming our lives these days, and all these celebrities like Amitabh Bachchan and all these big names, they are advertising products which are not healthy for people, which are not good for people, but then they are making them buy, like pan masala, gutka and all. What do you think about that?
So I agree that the endorsement by the celebrities have a huge impact on the people health and people mindset because they command a certain credibility and people tend to consume those goods which are not good for them. So that's why CCPA has also come up with guidelines that endorsers need to be held responsible for the kind of products and services they endorse.
No, that's okay. They need to be held responsible. What is the enforcement mechanism? How do you punish them for wrongly endorsing some product which is not good?
So there is that possibility that they will be fined for around 10 lakhs for first violation.
Is there a rule like that?
So recently there was a guideline by CCPA.
Guidelines?
Sir, as in enforcement mechanism. Yes, after the ad of...
Who will enforce? How does it work? How does the system work?
So the Central Consumer Protection Authority under the Consumer Protection Act of 2019 has the powers to impose penalties on the endorsers which do not follow the set mandate.
Can you think of a very, very recent case about 2-3 months old in your context, closely related to your context, where the CCPA has imposed penalties on certain institutions for falsely advertising?
Yes, sir.
What?
So it was on coaching institutions. Yes.
Okay.
For misleading people for very high claims, and it impacts students enrolling in UPSC or some higher education.
So what are the guidelines that have been issued? The Consumer Protection Department is issuing guidelines on that. What are the guidelines which have been issued?
Sir, it's that they can't falsely claim that the students that have passed from there, or they can't make very high claims that students can actually claim first or higher ranks based after studying from there. And if they found so, they can be penalized, and some coaching institutes have been penalized for that.
So what are the coaching institutes doing to get out of it?
So they are making people sign the contract before enrolling into the institutes, that they can use their pictures or testimonials for advertisements. And secondly, they are also making a disclaimer after the students have cleared that they were enrolled in these programs and not all the programs.
Okay, good. What about use of AI in advertisements?
So it has both positive as well as negative role. So positive in the sense the repetitive advertisements can be, or the advertisements can be mechanized in that sense. So the cost of producing advertisements can be lower to a great extent.
But you'll still have to pay like Shah Rukh Khan if you use his image. There was a recent, I think, video. I've seen a video where Shah Rukh Khan's AI image avatar has been, he talks to people, interacts with people. Live interaction is there. So you reduce the cost, but do you have to pay the star also?
So I think we have to pay the
He
star.
charges money, so how do you reduce the money? I mean, you're paying more for artificial intelligence, use of AI, and you're paying him the same amount which he was charging earlier. So the cost is actually increasing, or is it decreasing?
So I'll read more about this, but in my understanding, what I can think now is it will be reduced because the cost of setting up the infrastructure in actually shooting the advertisements will get reduced. The payment to other actors will get reduced, and this will be morely of a royalty basis and not the actual payment to the actor who is going to enact the scene or the story.
Okay. What about the liability of the OTT platforms for, publishing illegal or content? Something has been done about it recently. Last year, in fact.
Sorry, sir.
The rules have been amended. Now they've been made liable for content published on their website. If they don't remove it within a few, I think there's a time limit, then that they shall be held liable for that.
So it was in the IT rules.
IT rules. The
yes,
IT
sir.
rules were changed last year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Prapthi, can I ask you again on advertisement, your understanding of issues related to advertising? What do you think of surrogate advertising? Like liquor, alcohol, right? Is there any way we can control it? What is the point of banning advertisements of on alcohol and tobacco, but if they come in other ways? So how do you see a solution?
So firstly, we have taken some steps. The Advertising Standard Council of India, that is a self-regulatory body, has come up with the guidelines, that is that they have defined it. If the surrogate brand, if the surrogate product, let's say if liquor brand is advertising a glass for that matter, they have to contribute a certain percentage of their revenue to the total share of the company. If not, it will be termed as surrogate and they will be penalized for that. So secondly, I think overall we need to take responsibility, the brand as well as the advertising agency, endorsers as well as the consumers, that we will not indulge in the consumption of these type of advertisements and promotion of this as well.
Right. This is your hobby, right? But how do you convert it into an output? Your analysis, is it shared with anyone, or you just keep it to yourself?
So during the times of my MBA, I participated in some advertisement competitions, both in analysis as well as making ads. Right now, I don't publish this as such, but sometimes I do write on LinkedIn about analysis.
On LinkedIn, right? Yeah. You are a student of English language, right? So what is the role of English in India? The national education policy talks of giving primacy to local languages, right? And you're a student of English. So how would you, build a case for English?
So I think foundational literacy in the local languages will help people grasp learning more effectively and English will help them later in life for employment opportunities as well as interacting more with different cultures. So English would serve as a stepping stone later in life, but local languages has to build the foundation.
Now, let me be very explicit. Medium of instruction. Should it be in English or should it be in local languages? And to help you analyze, many parents would say that let my child have the best English all the way. So how would you react to that?
So I think till up to a certain level, till class 5th, the local language should be emphasized, because we live in a education or learning can't happen in isolation. So students have to grasp the things that they are studying, and local languages will help facilitate that. English, and we will emphasize this by to the parents, that since their environment and their mode of interaction with all the people in the society is through their local language, so English will facilitate this later in life and not at the earlier stages.
Right. Can I ask you on one international issue, Ukraine? Did you read the news today, newspapers today? Brief flag. So maybe you might have missed this, but the Pope has said that Ukraine should surrender. White flag. So there may be a fatigue building around Ukraine, right? How do you see the war ending, or is there ending within sight?
Sir, I personally don't think that the war will end anytime soon, because the European allies have stressed that they will support the Ukraine through their increased defense spending, leading by France, and other nations are also supporting it, because they also threaten their sovereignty being disrupted by Russia if they succumb to this pressure. But I think negotiations in the longer run would be the way forward, and this is how it should be about.
Thank you.
Prapthi Jain, correct? So, in the management, you would have studied about organizational behavior and other subjects. So, if given a chance, what organizational behavioral changes you wanted to bring in government departments?
So firstly, it's about the motivation, because as we see, if we align the motivation of all the workforce towards the larger organization goals, in this way administration or the country's goals, their efficiency and effectiveness at workplace would increase massively, and they will focus more on the outcomes and not the outlays only. So secondly, the leadership changes in that way where leader can command more from their followers, not in just terms of the work as mandated, rather work in a holistic manner, so that their individual goals are also fulfilled. At the same time, the larger goals that we see around the country are also fulfilled. So thirdly, the perception changes. As we see, the perception of police is not so good among the civic places, so that has to be enhanced, and so that people feel more connected to the police and they can share their grievances more easily and more openly.
How do you change that perception?
So we have to indulge more in community policing, so that people can relate with police more. The outreach by the police should be enhanced, like we see in terms of Delhi police, which has started senior practices for senior citizens, so that they can come with their problems and issues. And so with school students also, we can start school students visits to police stations, so that they can come and learn about the law and order. So thirdly, induction of more women officers in the police workforce, as well as the other sections like people with disabilities or transgender people, so that there is more inclusivity in the police force.
Achha. So you were talking that we should motivate them towards organizational goals. Most of the times government organizational goals are surveys. Are they looking for profit, monetary returns? Because after all, any person, whether it is in government or private, they are product of the society. They have the family, they have the personal motives. So how do you ensure that these are overcome and organizational goals are taken care?
Sir, I think not everybody has the monetary motivations as such. People are at different levels of hierarchy of motivation. Some have esteem needs.
You think only such people come to the government who have service motivation?
Sir, I am one of them. So I think we will find people who have service motives. So we need to find different ways to motivate them. As in, we can invite their family members to the workplaces as a part of interaction or building camaraderie so that they can feel more connected with the workplaces.
Okay, so something related to international relations. So China recently recognized Taliban government. It is the first country to do that. So how is it impacting India's Afghanistan relations?
So India will have a significant impact by increasing bonhomie between China and Taliban because first we have huge investment in Afghanistan and we want to safeguard those investments like in Salma Dam. So secondly, Pakistan and Afghanistan have terrorist groups and they have immediate borders with us. So our border security can be hampered. And so thirdly, the Central Asia, we want to reach Central Asia and have more connectivity ties with them. If China and Afghanistan come together, that can also be, if impacted, there is a possibility.
Is India doing something to address or to better the relations?
So recently we had a high meeting with Taliban leaders. One of our contingent went there to have relations with them.
Okay, one last question. What is China's approach recently towards Taiwan?
So they have claimed that they will have one China policy and they will integrate Taiwan through peaceful measures.
Read about it. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, Prapthi. What does Prapthi mean
Ma'am, for me it means achievement or accomplishment.
for you?
Yes, ma'am.
But is there any other meaning apart from what it means for you?
Ma'am, it has different meaning in different religion. For example, in Jainism, it's used as Nirvan Prapti for the Tirthankars who have attained salvation after their penance. And secondly, in Hinduism, it is believed it's a part of Ashta Siddhis, where it's believed one can reach anywhere one wants to be.
Wow, so limitless in that sense.
Sorry, ma'am?
Limitless.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? And for you, it's achievement.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're striving for joining the services. The IAS.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, you studied in Jind, you come from Jind, then you came to study in Delhi, then you went back to your state, Rohtak, now you're working in Bangalore.
Ma'am, I worked there,
Okay, you worked, right? So,
work from home.
oh, so you didn't go to Bangalore.
It was during the COVID times.
But have you ever been to Bangalore?
Ma'am, around 10 years ago, it was part of a trip, but I haven't stayed there for long.
Because I wanted to know what you observed in this journey, from Jind to Delhi, back to your state and then to Bangalore.
Ma'am, I can tell for Jind Rohtak.
Okay. Tell us.
Ma'am, every time I travel from Jind to Delhi, it's always this thinking about how to do more and more. And it's always about that hustle. Because whenever we enter Delhi, we saw a lot of traffic, everybody's running for something, then there's pollution, less greenery. But whenever I go back to my place, there is certain solace in the air itself. You don't want to rush anywhere. It's like silence, solace, pristine environment. So that's the major difference I observed every time I visited to and fro.
Okay, and Rohtak?
Ma'am, Rohtak is my maternal home as well, my mother's maternal home. And there I stayed in Rohtak, and that was a middle city in between Jind and Rohtak. So it's a transition city. Jind is very silent, Delhi is very chaotic in that sense. Rohtak is middle. You can find either of them to enjoy the peace.
I understand Haryana is very rural, agricultural. I mean, apart from we have Gurgaon and Faridabad, maybe Rohtak and some others, but it still remains very feudal. Would you agree with that statement?
Ma'am, I would partially agree that because Haryana has making leaps and bounds in terms of manufacturing. It's a manufacturing powerhouse. Almost 50% of all the tractors or two-wheelers or even four-wheelers that we see on road comes from Haryana. Secondly, we are doing very well in terms of sports also. So feudalism, though to some extent is there, but largely we are making progress on the right steps.
Social issues, status of women.
Ma'am, it is a challenge that Haryana is facing because the sex ratio, though improving since the last census, but is not similar to the national average. But government has taken some steps, as well as people are also taking steps, like selfie with daughter campaigns are there, or
Yeah, go on.
and local panchayats are also taking steps to promote women participation.
So we talked about organizational behavior change you just mentioned. What about social behavior change, right? To deal with all these social issues, how do you see that playing a role? Mindsets, right? How do you see that changing?
Ma'am, it started with the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao campaign because it was a social persuasive tool to change people's mindset that girls can do everything and anything if they are provided with the right opportunities and the platforms. And this is one of those measures which have actually made huge impact on the ground. Secondly, people themselves are realizing after the women performance in sports, they themselves want their daughters to go and fight in the sports. So there is a significant impact on the ground.
Have you heard of my last question? We talked a lot about advertising. Have you heard the term femvertising?
Sorry, ma'am.
Femvertising.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm not.
Okay, this is, we had International Women's Day, right? So in advertising also there has been objectification of women. So have you seen any ads which have caught your attention, advertisements?
Yes, ma'am. Mostly deodorant ads are there where the objectification of women happens at a great scale. And this is very unfortunate because women are mostly reduced to commodities in that sense, and the actual product gets sidelined and they are being advertised. So
what would you do about this? You said there are various platforms, right? CCPA and some advertising council. Can you object to this? Has anyone the right to demand that this advertisement be withdrawn as it's objectifying women?
Yes, ma'am. There are many platforms. Firstly, the social media itself. People make claims and put issues of how the advertisements is objectifying women, and brands have already, sometimes brands have taken down those ads.
So was this ad taken down? This deodorant ad?
Ma'am, earlier they were not used to be taken down, but right now brands don't indulge in these types of advertisements.
Okay, so you're talking about an earlier time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Prapthi, you have done your English honors from Hansraj College.
Yes, sir.
Can you think of any alumni from Hansraj besides Shah Rukh Khan?
Yes, sir. We have many famous alumni who have made huge contributions. So first will be the Mr. Naveen Jindal, who is currently leading the Jindal group. Secondly, Mr. Gopal Subramaniam, who is a very accomplished lawyer. Thirdly will be Gunjan Saxena, as we know, the Kargil girl. And then there will be Mr. Kiran Rijiju, who is currently the Minister of Earth and Sciences Department.
Okay. Now, I would like to know, Article 14 of the Constitution talks about equality. Can you please distinguish between equality of opportunity and equality before law?
So under equality before law, we meet to ensure that nobody is discriminated and law is fulfilled, so that there is no arbitrary ground under which anybody is given any extra advantages or made any other benefits. But equality of opportunity means that we need to find a common reference point, so that when everybody starts, they have certain lowest common denominator in that sense, because some people are discriminated against throughout history. So it doesn't make sense that we say everybody is equal on paper. We have to make substantively efforts for that.
So if everybody is equal before law, then why do we have MP MLA courts?
So which courts?
MP MLA courts, you have special courts for them. Everybody is equal before law. Why should we have a special provision, a special courts for them?
So we also have concept of parliamentary privileges, where people, representatives have been provided certain privileges so that the functioning of their mandate can be fulfilled in a great manner, and hence their special treatment in that sense.
Okay, another question with regard to, say, creation of states, Article 3 of the Constitution. You can create any number of states or union territory out of a state, but you cannot convert a state, a existing state, into a union territory. This was one of the question and issue to be decided by the Supreme Court while considering abrogation of Article 370. What has been the ruling of the Supreme Court in this regard?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not able to recall the exact ruling.
Another question which was to be decided by them was, while considering abrogation of Article 370, they have declared that method of doing so is ultra vires. The definition clause they had tweaked, and then they had said that this method is ultra vires. Have you heard about this thing?
Sir, I'll read more about this.
So now when they have declared the method to be ultra vires, how have they been able to uphold the abrogation itself?
Sir, I'm not aware about the nitty-gritties. I'll read about it.
Please go through it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All the best.
Thank you.
All the best.